Thank you, everyone. Sorry, it seems like, it's a VR tradition to have technical difficulties, but Jay Bonansinga is actually sitting in my living room, and he's on the Oculus Rift. I'm on the Vive. They were hating on each other. It's this whole thing. So, but welcome to the Hive, episode 2, and thank you to VR Chat for hosting. If you look around and you're fans of the show, the novel, you know that we are in a replication of the Walking Dead set, and that was made by Invader. It's totally awesome. This U-Haul stage is awesome, and just want to thank VR Chat for your hospitality. Ghoster is, of course, streaming this, and I want to say hello to all the alt spacers who are also watching back at alt space. So yes, we have Jay Bonansinga, who is an author. He writes horror, but he also works in other mediums as well. And so we're going to talk about some of his work. And
cool.
So
I'm ready.
Jay was briefly
Thank
talking about
me.
your thing. Yeah, you're welcome. He's like freaking out. He's like, what is this thing?
I'm sorry I started a false start. I just jumped right in as though I was in the middle of a TV show. Sorry.
All right. So, Jay, is this your first time in VR?
Yes. It's awesome. I've never felt this trippy and not being on drugs. This is going to be huge.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And in VR chat, it's extra special because people here can kind of bring in their own avatars. So, see, we have a little zombie person over there. So, yeah, so it's pretty cool and
cool.
Definitely interesting. And as you know, you see me in person. You're in my living room, so you obviously see that I look exactly like my avatar, right?
Yeah. How did you do that?
Yeah, totally.
It's like you're like a replicant of yourself.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's exactly how I look. Yep. So, well, Jay, you were briefly talking about the misconception people have about what you do. So, you do write the novels.
Well, plus, right? I mean, the term graphic novel and novel get confused sometimes. But the thing is, the comic book was the Rosetta Stone. That was where everything started. Everything's based on the comic, the show, the video games, my novels. They all use the comic as the starting point. But back in 2009, Kirkman decided, well, we've sold it to AMC, and now it's in development. I'd like to explore it in other mediums as well. And that's when he made deals with me, a novelist, to collaborate with them on novels. Literary novels. I mean, I thought it was like a tie-in novel I was going to write. I thought he was just going to give me a script, and away I went. I just would adapt a script into a novel, but he's like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're going to write real, honest to goodness literary novels that tell the backstories of these, iconic characters from the comic book, like the governor, and and also there was this woman named Lily in the comic book, and she just appears out of nowhere. She's just like one of the Woodbury hench people. She's one of the governor's, thugs, and she accidentally shoots Lori Grimes and her baby in the comic book, and she kind of loses it. You don't even know who this woman is. She just shows up on one panel, and in the next panel she's killing Lori Grimes and her baby. And then
Spoilers.
So she, yeah, sorry. I should say that this is a big spoiler if you haven't read the comic book.
Well, I mean, yeah, come on.
It's been long enough. You're fine.
I think about that a lot. But then that's the thing about the Robert Kirkman universe. All these mediums have different endings and deaths and timelines, but they're on the same macro timeline. The zombie apocalypse starts at the same place in all these mediums. The Telltale games, which I worked on one of the Telltale games, video games. If any of you have played the Telltale video game, they're like, branching narrative games that are really emotional. There's you choose your adventure. You go down different branches, and they're super, complex emotionally. And then I worked on a mobile game called Return to Return. I'm sorry.
So Woodbury.
Oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of the game, the mobile game. The Road to Survival.
Oh, sorry.
Oh my God, I sound like
I was
such
thinking
a
Woodbury.
douche. I've looked at so many things.
Oh my God, that was his punishment. Wow, for
Wow.
for forgetting that. Wow. Oh man. All right.
Oh man.
Just yeah, it froze up on it. So hold on. Just John's gonna
Rest
have to
in
keep you guys
peace.
entertained here. Just real quick, I'm gonna go help Jay.
John, sing
But
for
I want to
us.
say that for those of you who are in this room, if you take a photo in this room with the set and you tag VR Chat and myself, and Jay, he will pick the best pictures, and you will get an autographed copy of the novel, as well as those of you in Altspace. If you take a picture on the set with your dolls or any other thing there, and tag Jay on that, he will pick his favorite pictures, and you will get an autographed novel as well. So hold on just a minute.
Wow. That's really cool.
So, stuff. Okay, well, that was short-lived.
Dance.
Great start. Really, really interesting.
GG VR. GG.
All kinds of fun sometimes.
Invader.
Oh, though I don't know if he just got
You did a good job with
kicked
that
or it
tree.
actually froze on him.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in here that still need some roads.
Or maybe he froze.
So,
in your
how's
life.
everyone else doing today?
Ah, good.
All right.
All right.
It's
like 1 in the morning. Delicious.
Oh, wow, it is pretty late for you, isn't it?
I just decimated those. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm used to it by
I
now.
made nothing.
Still
in
looks
there.
Fair
I
enough.
just placed things.
I'll admit, once I started getting into VR, I started staying up a couple
You
extra
placed
hours a
them
day.
back, my boy.
What do you have in your hand?
Get back
Toasty,
going.
what do you have in your hand?
What we made is the couch that they're sitting
A little Shrek model that
on.
doesn't
All it is just
properly have its textures
blocks that are
applied.
put together.
Oh, wow.
No.
We got Jay back here, just trying to get things worked out.
How are you?
What's wrong with my little Shrek?
All right, thank you.
Can't really hear you too well. You
Did you kill it?
volume is low.
Stop dying.
How about that?
Alright, guys.
Oh, that's
There you go.
I want to go loud.
Yeah,
All right, cool.
Okay.
Train's rolling again.
All right,
not
welcome
gonna-
back, Jay.
Can back
Oh.
off. It's
Thank you.
cool.
All right, just give us a little bit while Vivian gets set back up, people.
Yeah, it's
All right,
alright.
show's starting. Show's starting back up.
Be very quiet, boys.
After a brief intermission,
I feel like I'm not sitting.
Yeah, do you want to just look at the chair and point at the couch
And click on it.
and press and click on it? Yeah. You're otherwise doing a really cool dance. So
Just reach your hand right into the seat.
You need to touch the seat, boy.
Caress it. There you go.
There,
Excellent.
there we go. I'm kind of sitting on the back. Okay, this is good. This is good.
Try.
I'm running, Vivian, whenever you are.
okay. Well, that was fun. Well, let's just get down to some of the questions I have, just in case you disappear again. Oh, there he goes. That's okay. You know what? I'll just stand. That way you can
I
stand.
do. All
That's
right.
okay.
All
You're
right, cool.
fine.
All right.
So anyway, I'm actually not a big fan of post-apocalyptic zombie type things, but I did read The Walking Dead as it came out because it had such good characters, and it really wasn't about the zombies. It was really
Right.
about the characters and the
it,
people.
exactly.
So, and your
Yeah.
novels, are like an extension of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
can you talk about like what you chose to write about, and like what?
Well, that's it. That's it exactly. Like you can write a novel it's much harder to write a novel like a that would be a take on, like, say, Night of the Living Dead, because it's just raw, experience and everything. But the Walking Dead goes much further inside the characters internally, and that's what novels are. Novels are internal. They're internal for the reader, and they're internal for the characters that are in them. You go inside the characters, and the scares, the shock scenes in a novel are internal. Like, your mind, imagines. It's more interactive. You're just suggesting sensory detail to the human imagination, and then it's creating. That's one of the myriad reasons why people go, I love the book, I didn't really like the movie. Because, movies are
right,
just,
exactly.
Yeah.
sort of specific. They're just like someone's conception of what everything looks like. And it's a pale thing, compared to what your imagination, can create.
So I'm
no,
actually
you're right. You
I was going to say that I'm actually a writer as well, and I write fiction.
Cool.
And one of the
Cool.
things about writing is like they always say you have to be like, it's a very vulnerable thing, because you're taking something in your head, and people, first of all, you have to be entertaining. You have to entertain people, and then they get to know what kind of things go through your head. And since you write horror, have you had any experiences with that? Yeah, I mean, because it's definitely one thing, like when you write suspense or thrillers, it's like, all right, people are gonna know how I would dispose of a body, or or such. So, okay, can you talk a little bit about that, because I know you have a lot.
Well, I think when you're a little child, very young, you start to learn. Even when you're maybe 4 or 5 years old, you start to learn that there's a difference between fantasy and reality. And like, some people have harder time processing that, but some people are really good at processing it really young, in a young age, So, like, you can, the people that get really dark on the page, like in the 80s, there was this movement in horror called splatterpunk, and those people got as dark as I could possibly imagine. I mean, they pushed the envelope of darkness and of gore, and out of that movement came geniuses like Clive Barker and Edward Lee. But the thing is, they are among the population who learns early what the difference between fantasy and reality is. And some people never learn. Some people end up really struggling with it, and your body doesn't really know the difference. When you're scared from a novel or a movie, your body doesn't know that it's fantasy. But when you make it up for a living, you're processing something completely different. You're processing your own subconscious. So you're right. I mean, there is a connection, and anybody that denies it in the horror field is lying. There's totally a connection to the subconscious and stories. I don't think I'm a weird person, though, because of it.
Yes, right. That was implying that.
The woman I'm. I mean, no, I knew you weren't implying that, but like, my wife called me up one time. She was traveling and she was reading one of the Walking Dead books, and she's like, "Hi, yeah, I just finished Fall of the Governor Part 2, or it was Part 1. Fall of the Governor Part 1. The rape scene toward the end. Was that your idea, or was that Kirkman?" And I'm like, you can relax, honey. That was Kirkman. I just translated it into prose.
Yeah, just blame everything on Kirkman.
I do, and even Robert Kirkman has said that he'll write something in a comic book script, and then he'll see it, like an artist will render it, and he'll go, "Oh my God, that's disgusting," and they go, "Well, yeah, but you kind of came up with the idea." And he goes, "Yeah, but I didn't know it was going to look that disgusting," And they're like, "Well, you shouldn't have come up with the idea then if you didn't want to see it." But even Robert Kirkman gets grossed out by the stuff sometimes.
Well, it is good. It is pretty scary. I for sure think I have a plan, but I would probably just be one of them to fit in. So, but I'm sure you get asked all the time. Do you have an escape plan? Do you have like a zombie survival kit or ideas of what you would do?
No, I would totally die within like 5 minutes of the zombie. I'm such a
All right, you
wimp.
and me together.
In fact, I'm not feeling really that well right now. I think this may kill me.
Well, good. Right.
Well, I don't know about you two, but I at least plan to be patient zero. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's a good strategy.
Knowing John, it was probably his fault. So the zombies came from.
I think though, if I was in a real zombie apocalypse, I would try to be like that character in the Winnebago. Like he sat on top of his Winnebago and had a little cooler with beer in it, and a radio, battery operated radio, and a little lawn chair, and he just like got drunk and just let the world pass him by, and he was on top of, much like we are right now, on top of this truck. I mean, his name was Dale. He got eaten, of course, like everybody does. But anyway.
Of course, yeah, he got eaten, of course. See, that's what happens when you work with zombies. You're just like, yeah. I mean, like I feel the same way about Game of Thrones. Like you can't get attached to characters,
Right.
And the same way with The Walking Dead, which is a very real thing because it used to be the rule is you can't kill main characters, right? But nowadays,
that's what makes and that's part of its popularity. Like everybody's at risk. Anything could happen. Even the most beloved characters. Like I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but
if you haven't seen it, what's wrong with
the most beloved
I know exactly
characters
what you're
bite
the dust. You hear that, John? But one of the things that I really enjoy about it is the way the storylines mirror kind of like the political climate right now. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but in the novels and in the stories, they're like rising up and starting a whole new, a new world, a new civilization. Yeah.
That's
so it's
really
a little
true.
bit like
That's really true.
Yeah, it's a little bit like VR because like we're kind of on the forefront and we're kind of deciding on the rules, and who the leader is. Me.
Right.
So that kind of stuff. So, but what are some of the favorite stories that have mirrored real life? Like, have you drawn on anything?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Yeah, I think I think you're hitting on the core metaphor of the zombie itself, because for me, like a zombie is symbolic of just intractable problems that won't go away, but they're from a distance. They're partially removed from you, and like terrorism or you can you can outrun a zombie like the sheriff in Night of the Living Dead says, they're dead, they're all messed up, you can outrun them. But if enough of them swarm up on you, just like Russian hackers or lone terrorists or any yeah, I mean that is a parallel in The Walking Dead that I think resonates for people, and it's not even spoken, it's an unspoken parallel. Like the zombies are always out there, no matter how many. It's like your mortgage, it's like being underwater. Like no matter how many times you pay off your mortgage, it's coming around next month and you got to pay it again. And no matter how many zombies you shoot in the head and get rid of, there's more behind them in the woods coming. So yeah, I think I can't tell you like specifically a story from I can't tell you a story from real life that we've used, except for little stuff like when I was working on Rise of the Governor, the executive producer of the TV show, David Alpert, called me one day and he goes, "Did you hear this story about birds falling out of the sky?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "We should use that." that sounds like the beginning of something really, really awful, like the apocalypse. So I put that in The Rise of the Governor, birds falling out of the sky. I don't know if you remember that. It was about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Literally birds were falling out of the sky. Nobody knew why. So yeah, I mean, but anyway, it's a good question because everything comes from life, no matter what you do. You know, no matter how fantastical it is, it comes from life.
So
I just figured out how to use my joint.
well, I did say that I'm not a big fan of zombies, but in the realm of well, I mean, come on, it's dead flesh, you know, it's just like anyway, it's a whole nother discussion. See right there, I mean, come on, like why is that a thing?
Not, I mean, but that's a good one.
Well,
because we always, as humans, we fear our own mortality. Death.
All right. Okay, that's still ugly. But
they're not sexy. They're not sexy like vampires or.
I was gonna say, so you know, we had the vampires, we had the wolves. A zombie is like everything zombie, and you know, since you write horror, is there like anything that you're just like waiting to get to write, like, I don't know, haunted mermaids or something, or I don't know, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like there's always gonna be like a new wave of something. Is there anything like you're kind of hoping to hit?
Leprechauns.
Succubus. You know, it's the succubus. Is that? Did somebody say succubus? I don't know. Maybe that's the new one. What's your name?
Yuval.
What's your name?
Yuval.
Yeah, good one. Good one, Yuval. Good succubus. I've never seen a really good succubus being done. Anne Rice dealt with them in a couple of books. I wasn't gonna.
If you write it, you have to name one a character after him. So.
I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's really hard to invent an icon. Like the zombies, the newest horror icon, the most recent. The vampires go back to the Victorian age, and you know, Mary Shelley invented Frankenstein. You know, werewolves, all the iconic, you know, characters go back many years.
It took a few generations for them to become an icon because they permeated our culture before.
Right.
That, like, decades before. Right. So I would say it'd be hard to come up with something new.
Right.
That's the hard.
It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like trying to invent a country or something. You know, it takes time and it has to foment and. Yeah, and you never know what's going to.
I feel like you should be able to do that on the spot as a creative person. just do it right now.
Come up with a new icon. Yeah,
exactly. Well, but Jay, you know, you
write.
And...
Slenderman was created out of nothing. Right?
That's true.
I mean, do you consider that an icon?
4chan.
I don't know, but I know exactly what you're talking about when you say it. So
I think the internet, like the you know, the internet's going to speed everything up. Like hence you have things like Slenderman. Like things can get like adopted as, you know, myth on the internet like a lot faster than in the old days when you just had books and newspapers and TV. You know. Yeah.
Well,
back in those days.
The evolution of Slender Man started the same way it does in culture. Started with, you know, maybe just stories, then myths, then it developed into people integrating that again, just building up on it more and more.
Yeah, Slenderman to me is like Slenderman is like the next stage after Blair Witch Project. Slenderman is a mockumentary version of a horror icon to me. It's like, because it was fake. I mean, it started out as just, you know, an art contest or something on the web, but then people started telling stories with Slenderman in them, and all of a sudden it became, you know, an urban folktale. I've never seen it happen that fast in my life. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
Jay,
zombies are fairly new. I mean, they were invented by George Romero. Who was a hero of mine. We just lost him a couple of weeks ago.
The original folklore of vampires was actually more like zombies than anything.
Right, yeah.
So technically they existed, but they kind of deviated and got recreated.
Right. We're talking about like years later. The slow-moving, lumbering, ghoulish, you know, rotting zombie, which really, if you start to unpack it logically, it makes no sense. They would crumble in about a week.
I've got an idea.
Yes, go ahead. For a new icon?
No, I've got an idea for. There's nothing out there. Well, at least I don't know about zombies fighting demons and spirits. Now that'd be interesting.
Yeah. I like
Now
that.
that would be very interesting.
Yeah. It's absolutely. It's in the tradition of, you know, Alien versus Predator, Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, so you've got your demons and all
That's
that, and your
good.
spirits on one side, and then you've got your zombies on other side. It sounds like some kind of game.
Demon, yeah, a demon would, like, you know, just
Ragnarok
vaporize
versus
a zombie.
Revelations.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like, yeah.
So you've got succubus and incubus and all that involved in
Right.
like fighting against each other in their own little space or whatever.
Right.
You know?
I like
You know,
that.
Jay, you're looking at people here, and you know, there's people from all over the United States and all over the world. Anyone out here in particular, like, just freaks you out? Like anything here as a horror writer?
You mean
Are
any
you just
Avatar?
like, what?
Any Avatar?
Yeah. Like, is any Avatar that
I
you're
mean,
like, what?
Yeah, I have to say,
That's
there's,
normal.
you know, I get scared by stuff, but this, what I'm looking at right now, is seriously, it's the closest thing to tripping that I've ever seen. If I had dropped acid,
Tell me more.
it wouldn't be as good as this.
Yeah. You know, yeah.
Me.
That's debatable, we think. So, yeah, and there they go. So again, you know, Jay, I did tell everyone that that if they take pictures and they'll post it and tag us, you'll pick the best ones and we'll send them a copy of one of your novels.
Yeah.
That you'll sign.
That's a great idea.
So,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Where do I send it? I want to send to Sakuba.
Oh, hold on just a minute. Jay, you know, you write the novels, okay, but you also do some directing. You did the video game work. I know your wife is, you know, this photographer that, you know, you're always posting about her work and stuff. So you're like really creative, you know, like what is your, I mean, I know you as a writer, but you're also a great speaker as well, you know? So what do you like go to certain outlets for specific things? Or is there something like your favorite, or do you like focus? Or you have a focus right now that you're really into?
Well, that's a great question because like I came from film school. That was my I was you know, that's my formal education as a filmmaker, and that's how I got into writing novels. I started to write novels like a film director who just wants to make a movie on paper. And I developed my style as a novelist that way, just descriptive, and, you know, you can smell it and taste it, and everything was like smell-o-vision on the page. But I come from film. I think that's why I worked with Kirkman really well, and he enjoyed working with me. I think I wrote those books. I've written 8 of them. I've written them in present tense, and like film and comic books. Film and comic books are more akin to each other. And so I emulated them with the Walking Dead books. And I'm currently developing a horror film with a member of the Walking Dead cast, that's all I can tell you right now, unfortunately. I can't tell you what it is or who the cast member is.
We can't get an exclusive for the Hive?
Well, that's a total exclusive. Nobody else knows about it. But I can't tell you who it is.
The Hive want to know.
I know. I want to know.
I can't tell you, but they're one of my favorites.
Is it about demons? And demons?
Yeah, is it what? Are there demons in it?
Demons and spirits against zombies. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
She's really into the demons, apparently.
Are you Catholic? Is it Claire? Are you Catholic?
Yeah, no, I'm part psychic.
But you don't have a religion?
She's dressed like one, too.
Yeah, I'm part psychic, but I've got to be religious to protect myself from anything evil.
Yeah, because you know demons are totally Catholic. They're a Catholic.
I'm Christian. So
Well, yeah, I mean, they're Christian, but they definitely originated in Catholicism. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't like love writing about demons. I've written about them many times. I wrote about a demon in the White House. I'm totally serious.
was that Donald Trump?
I'm totally serious. I wrote a book called Oblivion about an exorcism in the White House.
Tell me
Who won it?
more.
Donald Trump.
Isn't that called
Exactly.
Are you sure
I
it was?
thought I was a little. I was pressured.
Supernatural, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's. I mean, the as we all know, like the world is a little bit crazy right now. So.
Right.
All it's super crazy.
Works.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, because I always think of different, like, you have zombies, which really speaks to, well, I mean, a lot of things is a metaphor for, like complacency or like sheep-like thinking, that kind of stuff. And then you have demons, which are like inner demons or just like the dark side of us. So, like, what kind of mythical character do you think describes the current state of the world?
Wow, that's an awesome question.
I feel like you did not read any of my questions. No, I'm kidding.
It's like a lot.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just fun.
I don't remember that one. I think you just made that one up.
Well, it really got me thinking.
I think the Death Star is the closest thing I can come up with that resembles this world. The Death Star blowing up. That's what this world reminds me of right now.
Anyone disagree? Yeah. Anyone offer anything new? People were just like, I don't know.
I know. I think we're slowly approaching Cthulhu level.
Yeah.
World
That's good
chaos.
too. Yeah, I like that too.
Not quite the old ones, but
The older ones are
the older
coming.
ones.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. I like that.
Look at the hearts. Hearts
I'm
in your way.
still laughing about Donald Trump being exercised.
Where do I post the?
So Jay, we're gonna open up the floor to questions, but what's is up against the horizon for you? You said you're working on a film. Anything else we can expect from you?
We're working on a film, and the novel that the film is based on is being re-released digitally. It's called Self Storage, and I'm also working on a new horror novel. That's a historical horror novel. It's the first historical horror novel I've ever written. And also, I'm not sure yet. The deal has not been finalized, but I may be writing. You're gonna be pissed because I'm gonna be coy, but I'm gonna be writing another book based on an original TV series.
Jay. Okay. Come on. We're neighbors.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
Which TV series?
Yes. I can't tell you that. It hasn't even.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like shades of The Walking Dead, because I started working on that before the show had started. I didn't know how good it was going to be. I just heard that Frank Darabont was directing it, and I thought, well, it's on AMC. It's got to be pretty good. So
pretty good.
This one's going to be good too.
But are you going to branch out of horror? Maybe like we'll see you write, romance, maybe a novel on The Bachelor or something like that.
I'd love to.
TV. Yeah,
but
so.
Probably it's hard for me to write something where something doesn't go horribly awry, and the Bachelor, develops a sexually transmitted disease, and the Bachelorette robs a bank and escapes.
So you're saying that the Bachelor was patient zero?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I saw what you did there. You brought it full circle. It's so cool.
That's what I do.
A wise one.
Yeah, you do it well.
So there are
That's
people in this room. Yes. There are people in this room with questions. We also have people in other rooms.
Yes.
So Altspace, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask one of the moderators, and they'll feed us the question. But don't forget to take your pictures, guys. We're going to pick winners. We have 4 books to give out. 3 if I want to keep one. So, you posted already. All right.
Where do I
no
post
points
it?
for speed. Oh, post Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace.
MySpace.
What? MySpace?
I don't know.
No, if she tells you MySpace, she
That's
doesn't want you to
4chan,
win.
there's the
Yeah.
YouTube comment
Yeah.
section.
Back in 2005.
Yes, YouTube. Right. I don't think they have pictures there. But are there any questions
That's what
for
she
Jay?
says to you, and she's just not that into you.
What about
You know,
Discord?
meet me on
Yeah.
MySpace.
Yeah.
I
Right.
got a question.
LinkedIn.
Good question.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm kind of ignorant to all of your work, but my question is, have you ever written any nonfiction?
Yes. It's mostly like really dark, or it's about disasters, or it's about war, or like crime. I wrote a disaster, real life disaster in Chicago. It's a book called The Sinking of the Eastland, and it's about a shipwreck, and it's the deadliest disaster ever in this area, in the Chicago area.
Any
844
personal
people died.
experiences?
With disaster. My
Just
first
any
marriage. No, I'm just
nonfiction.
kidding.
I can relate. I can relate.
Just kidding. Just kidding. No, I've written crime. I wrote a book called Hit Me, which is a crime novel, or a crime true story, crime story, about the mob. I wrote a book called Pinkerton's War about the guy who invented the Secret Service. I am kind of obsessed with with politics and government and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
because
and we're in
it's,
Chicago, so
yeah,
perfect.
exactly.
Right on.
It's Illinois is
Exactly.
where the
But
governors
thank
make
you
the license
for
plates.
asking.
So.
That was really nice of you to ask that.
Yeah.
Anyone
worries,
else?
thanks for the
Cool.
answer.
Yeah, don't make me bring up pins.
Any question? Any spoilers?
And Solo.
All right. Well, I do have a question.
Yeah, we should have some questions.
Yeah. What TV show are you writing about next? He could have said it. You don't know. He could have been like, "Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's my housewives."
I have a question.
That's not gonna show more. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, just John.
All right, so Jay, obviously you write horror. That is your thing. But as
Yeah.
someone who has not read your works or anything like that, or hasn't even really taken interest in Walking Dead, if you were to describe your novels outside of just horror, how would you do that? Like a horror thriller, horror drama? How would you describe them outside of that? To someone who's completely ignorant.
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. Like my horror novels are surreal metaphors for deeper parts of the human psyche. They're usually psychological horror. You know, like I wrote a book called Sick about a woman who was a shapeshifter, but it was a multiple personality disorder, but it was a metaphor for the modern, conundrum of life and today as we see it. And we shapeshift all the time psychologically. So usually my horror novels are about something, real beneath the surface, the subtext of them. Most of them are, basically about subtext. Even The Walking Dead, I tried to make those books about deeper issues, deeper things, and I think Kirkman does the same in his comic. I think they're about deeper things like trust and family and, a lot of things that are real to people.
One thing I've noticed about horror is how well it ties into psychology studies. You're looking at the deeper meanings. Almost all horrors deal with how a person reacts in given situations, whether it's dealing with monsters, dealing with zombies, dealing with murderers, various stuff like that. It's always about how a person deals.
Yeah, good point. I mean, a couple of years ago I wrote a blog about mainstream movies that are really horror. But they're disguised as mainstream movies,
Let's hear
like
it.
Taxi Driver
Like
and
what?
Taxi Driver.
What show are you working on?
One of these times I'm just gonna go, it's oh god dang it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm waiting for.
Me. You tricked me.
What you need to say? Oh, it's My Little Pony.
Is it?
It's a horror movie based after My Little Pony. It's a horror book based after My Little Pony. Thank you, Yuval.
All right, My Little Pony.
Oh, there's another one over there.
It's titled My Little Zombie.
No, it's a show called Little Goddammit.
Jay, you know, we didn't have time to get you like any kind of a custom avatar or anything, but just looking around or just knowing of all the different things out there, what would you pick as your avatar?
Mr. Meeseeks.
I think, well,
I'm Mr. Meeseeks, look at me.
The trippiest one I saw was the giant blue head. That I really thought that I was imagining that wasn't real. Who was that? Who was the giant blue head?
I think that was Oracle.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you have cool names like Oracle.
Tongue sticking out.
Yeah.
You got
that's
Toasty
Oracle.
over here.
Yeah.
That's the trippiest one I've ever seen. That's
Oh,
pretty
it's
good.
true. You want to come back as a big
I like
head,
that.
or you know what? You don't have to be any being. You could come back as like a pen, you know, or paper.
Right.
Or flying
Right.
book.
Because he's a writer, guys. He's a writer.
Hey, Mr. Meeseeks, join me. Join me.
A Clorox bottle. I mean, look at that. It's like you can't make this stuff up.
Oh my god! I'm so.
What, did you know what you were getting yourself
high
into?
right
He was
now.
like,
Welcome to the internet.
I didn't.
This is what
I
really
had no
happens.
idea that I was.
yeah.
Oh
my
really,
God.
This looks like. I mean, this looks like
Where's that sin to humanity over there?
Salvador Dali,
Please
like
join my
wet
event.
dream.
Which is
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You hear all the horror stories about what people do online. No, this is really what we all do. This is it. This is it right here.
Yeah.
This is the
If
internet.
it's just this, it'd be fine. Okay.
I have to
This
tell you,
is
that, like, just
There's that.
sitting on the actual
pretty
couch that
common.
I'm sitting on and waiting. I started getting this idea for a story that
Of
takes place
course.
in a virtual
Ready
reality.
Player 2.
I mean, that is.
Yeah, I
They
think
put me in
virtual
the internet
reality
right
is
there.
like
That
the
is just.
new. It's like the new canvas. We're gonna be telling a lot of
pretty much
stories on.
Your go-tos for virtual reality is either Ready Player One or the anime Sword Art Online. Those are your two pretty much go-tos on
Yeah, so
current
it's an
culture.
open field, Jay. So,
Okay, yeah,
so why don't you
yeah.
just write about it and then tell us what
Don't
the
forget about
show you're
Mass
working on
Effect.
right now.
All right, well, it's hey, you almost got
Don't
me
forget
that
about Rick and
time.
Morty VR.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for letting me into your like trippy, druggy world. I appreciate it. I've
Who's
never
on drugs
like,
right now?
Oh, you
Honestly.
think this is druggy? Oh, I'm sure there's some rooms here people would love to show you.
Yeah, we'll just
No
put you in
thanks.
there.
Mr.
See you later.
No thanks.
Yeah.
I'll pass.
I'm Mr. Meeseeks, look at me.
That's how you were getting it.
It is currently 8:10.
Zombies. We should all become zombies.
Yes. Why don't you guys become zombies and we'll take a picture with Jay here. Except for this is as zombie as I get. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
This is a Turian. I am a Turian.
Come on, zombies. Come up to face the front truck here, and then we'll get a shot. Gunter, if you want to take a screenshot of everybody here. Oh my god. Oh, okay, sure. They're awesome.
Nice.
No, don't do
Oh my
that.
god, this is so cool.
Behind you.
You could save 50% or more on car insurance.
Aren't they a fun bunch here? Yeah.
I'm not paying car insurance. Save 50% or more on car insurance. Oh my god, Dion.
Alright.
Ow.
Did we get a picture, Gunter?
Yeah, got a few of them.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you, Jay. Oh, we apologize for the technical difficulties, but thank you for sticking by
No
with us.
problem. My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you to all of you watching in all space.
Join.
Feel
free to join, Claire's event next.
Oh, sure. Yeah, don't forget to post your pictures. We'll pick them and we'll send you a book.
I mentioned
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Fucking Shrek's.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys.